Hi friends! Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and I am the creator here at Emily's Art Journey. Thank you so much for being here today with me as we continue my Draw My Plants series. But in full disclosure, this is not one of my plants. This is one of my neighbor's plants, and I was walking by and thought it was so gorgeous, so I thought we would actually tackle it. It can look a little scary, a little daunting, a hydrangea, but we're going to simplify it quite a bit, just kind of reusing some of basic shapes, which we will kind of practice drawing out first before we get started. We are going to draw this in this video, and then in the next video we will tackle the painting. So I'm going to go over a couple of different supplies that you could use. I like to use, usually, especially if I'm doing watercolor, a harder lead, which just means it's a little bit lighter when you draw with it. This is a 2H. This is what I would normally use, but since I want you to be able to see what I'm drawing, I'm actually going to use a B, which is like a bold, which just means it's a little bit of a softer lead, so it can come out a little bit darker. So that's what I'm going to use today. But if you use a pencil like this, in order to make it last longer, the lead, you can actually use like an X-Acto knife or a box cutter, and you kind of shave away some of that and get a really nice long piece of lead showing. And then you would use, this is like a little sandpaper, and you use it to kind of run it across. I know that's like a horrible sound, but then that kind of sharpens the tip for you. So that's another little suggestion for you. Put that off to the side. So this time I am going to be using a mechanical pencil. And then this is a mono zero eraser, which I might use just for some fine lines if I want to change it a little bit. This is also just another type of eraser. If you use an eraser that like creates the little shavings or whatever, then I usually will have a brush as well. This is my Thor brush. And then that way you can just kind of wipe it off. Instead of running your hand doing this, because then it can smear the graphite. So this is just a way to kind of help that not happen. So I'll have that off to the side, but I do like to use a knead eraser the most when I am drawing with, or especially on watercolor paper, or in a way that I don't want the graphite to smear. So this, I think I mentioned in the last video, this is kind of like a silly putty. So when you go to your paper, you can just kind of press down and it will lift that graphite off for you, and then you don't get the little shavings or whatever. So this is nice. So I'll be using this today. So I'll have kind of those four supplies off to the side. And then we're going to talk about some shapes. We will draw some together, but I did kind of a practice one just to kind of show you. And we'll just do a little bit, you know, one little grouping of petals at a time. And then we're going to go over some basic shapes together. So we're not going to do like exactly what this looks like, but we'll get the gist of it, okay? So I will have that kind of off to the side, but let's just go over some different petal shapes that we'll kind of use throughout the process. Okay, so we're going to start. We'll draw a circle first, and this does not need to be a perfect circle. This is just to kind of get our shape in. And then we're going to draw kind of like a circle in the center. And then these would be the different little flower buds that we would use in between. Let me zoom in just a little bit here, a little bit more. So a side view, couple different ways. Kind of start with like, well, it's like a loose triangle, I guess. And then you would come in with just another little petal here. And then another one off to the side here. Almost meeting this corner here. And then you would bring another one kind of out here, kind of angled. And then bring that down to there. And you could have this look like it's curled a little bit just by putting, so this would be like the inside And then this would be kind of the outside, just kind of cupped, okay? And then there's a few different front facing. I'm gonna always kind of start with the little center circle just so we can kind of keep track of where we're at in the drawing. And then when we also paint. So you can kind of start skinny and then go out. And all these would be kind of different widths, but the gist of it, and you can have some kind of pointy, it's kind of like a diamond shape, I guess. Do one and then we would do the other one. You can have it be a little bit of a different shape. It could be a little bit more rounded, a little bit wider. You don't want all of them looking exactly the same. And then you could have one petal kind of coming from behind. And then you could even have one over here that's just a little bit smaller. Again, they don't need to be, you don't want everything to just be identical. And then another one is to have a little bit folded. So we're starting in the middle again. We can kind of come off to the side this time to start. And then I kind of go opposites to begin with. Like so. And then this would kind of make it look like it's folded in on itself. You would just make it kind of flatter on the top. Like that. And then you would draw in the rest of the petal. So it looks like it's kind of folded in like that. And then you would just draw another kind of part of the petal. And again, you can kind of adjust these as we go. We would be kind of sketching these a little bit lighter, but like I said before, I just want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. And then here's another kind of folded in on itself. We're going to use a variety of these throughout the entire little ball that we're going to create, but you can kind of start with like a half circle, kind of like making like a crescent moon shape, I guess. And then you would connect the rest of that to the little center part. And then you can add the other petal, and then you would add the other side, and then the other side. Again, just kind of changing like make the petals irregular. You don't want them all to be exactly the same. But that's just kind of a loose idea. And then when we start, you can do it two ways. This is really kind of up to you. You can kind of put maybe a couple of X's in where you might want to have a few that you know of, like big flowers, make them different sizes. Again, we're going to walk through this. And then around the edges, you would definitely kind of have some that were kind of on their side. But that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so depending on the colors that you're going to use for the hydrangea, the lighter the color, you definitely want to try to make your sketch as light as possible, just so that you don't see the pencil lines shining through. Like I said, I'm going to make this a little darker, and then I'll lift some of the graphite before I paint it. But I am going to make just the outer circle with this this harder lead, just so that it's definitely a lot lighter. And I did decide to kind of frame out the paper. I always think that's kind of nice. So this is just washi tape, which is just like kind of it's not as sticky, but I will leave it even after the drawing. It just makes it look kind of nice, I think. So I've got my circle, and then I'm going to kind of draw a circle inside that circle. And again, you don't want a perfect circle. Okay. So the other way you could do it is you could put some other little circles, kind of different sizes inside first, just to kind of plan it out if you want to. But I'm going to just kind of start with a few large ones in the center. Okay, so I'm going to start by making a tiny little circle. And I'm going to do a few just basic front shapes first. And this this can be just super loose. Again, making sure you're making kind of a regular, you don't want them to be exactly the same. Go. And I'm gonna put in just 3 kind of regular ones to start with, and then we'll kind of go in and fill in between. Does anybody have hydrangeas? I'd love to know in the comments, and if you do, how easy they are to care for, or if they're kind of finicky. I planted a hydrangea a couple of years ago. I got as a gift, and it was so beautiful, and I don't know if it had too much sun or what happened, but boy howdy did it not make it. I felt so bad, especially because it was a gift. So I'd love to know what your experiences have been with that. We'll put another one down here. Gonna make this one kind of have a flatter petal. Okay, so now we're going to kind of start building in between those. We'll still add some bigger regular front-facing ones, but now we're just going to start adding some that have kind of folded leaves. I'm actually going to make that one folded, just like that. Or petals, I'll have folded petals. So we'll kind of start building in between things to kind of start bridging them together. So we'll put a kind of one of those crescent moon ones here. You can have them go over each other or under each other. This is where the center would be. And a petal would be out there. There. This could be like a little bit of a smaller one. And then because I decided to make that one over, I will use my little mono eraser and just go in and erase the line that I had for that little petal there. So I always want to put in a center, just so like I said, when we begin tackling the painting part, we can kind of keep track of what we're doing, because since we'll have so many little flower buds within the circle. And then sometimes you just want to put one petal in, and then we can add some more here. We're just going to keep going through here and filling these up. I will be kind of putting this part to music, but you can always, and it'll be sped up a little bit, but you can always slow it down just by watching it on a slower speed. So we'll just kind of start creating these together, and we'll talk in a little bit. So hopefully you can see how I'm trying to make irregular edges, not make everything just like a perfect ball. And then I'm just repeating the different shapes of the flowers as I'm going along. Kind of get lost. It's a little therapeutic, I feel like, because I'm just kind of getting lost in it and not overthinking anything. I'm just kind of popping things in where I feel like where it belongs. I don't feel like there's any real wrong way to do it, for sure. And then I'm just kind of popping every once in a while, just like one kind of petal that would be behind. And I'm still staying fairly true to the circle that I created, but I'm not staying exactly within it, but that shape kind of. So hopefully you see as I make the ones that are kind of curled in, I just kind of do a V shape from the center here and then kind of cap it off. And then bring in the way that it looks like it's folded. I think I'm going to make some of that behind and some of it in front of, so. Nope. Kind of make this one look a little flatter because it's on the edge. Give this one kind of a little cute little small one in the connected to that one. So it looks daunting when you first start, but if we just are kind of adding one little grouping of flowers at a time, and it just starts to build and fill in, and I think it's going to be really nice when we paint it in. Hopefully you'll join me for that too. So any of these little empty, looks like it's an empty space in between, that would just be like a petal behind. There we go. I like that quite a bit. And then I think we'll go ahead and put in our leaves, get those kind of drawn in as well. I'm gonna zoom back out just a little bit here. We're not gonna do the leaves exactly like this. We will do like kind of this little scalloped edge or whatever you want to call that, but right now we're just gonna kind of pencil kind of without those. We'll add that. I'm just kind of doing it nice and sketchy. Still trying to be mindful of the shape, and there is like this little kind of point down at the end. And the stem here. And we can have some leaves kind of offshooting. I like to do things in threes, so we'll pop another one down here. And kind of have it look like it's bent. So this would be the underneath part here. There we go. I think that's a good start. Okay. So here's our hydrangea drawing. My light out of the way there. So yeah, I like that quite a bit. So in the next video we will tackle the painting. So be kind of thinking of what colors you might want to use. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.